From the very beginning, I've been emphasizing the importance of allowing the woman to chase you, rather than you chasing after her. This advice has likely been given to you by countless people, and you've probably heard it many times over. But when it comes to real-life situations, things rarely feel as simple as they sound. You may feel like it's nearly impossible for a girl to chase you. And when you ask most women about it, they might say, "I would never chase anyone." Yet, there's a natural dynamic at play that you may not fully grasp. The truth is, a woman is often drawn to the man she's chasing. And as a man, you might find yourself caught somewhere in the middle, confused about what you should be doing. You may wonder if it's even possible for a woman to chase after you, and how to make that happen. Well, in today's video, I'm going to answer all the burning questions running through your mind about the art of chasing, attraction, and how relationships really work. Buckle up, because I'm about to break it down for you in ways that will clarify things. Before we dive deeper into the strategies, there's something you need to understand. There are two different types of chasing when it comes to women: logical chasing and emotional chasing. Let me explain both, so you can understand the nuances. Logical chasing happens when a woman pursues you because of tangible, clear benefits she perceives. This is when her attraction to you is based purely on logic. For example, if you're wealthy, have a high status, or are influential in some way, a woman might think, "If I get involved with this guy, there are clear benefits. He's rich, he has power, and he could provide me with a better lifestyle." So, logically, she might pursue you, hoping to gain financial security, luxury gifts, or a more comfortable life in general. When a woman chases you based on these benefits, she's not necessarily after you as a person, but more for what you bring to the table. But here's the issue with logical chasing. It comes with two major problems. The first problem is that it's extremely rare and difficult to achieve. I'm not trying to be like every other YouTuber who tells you to become rich or achieve some high status. We all know that, right? The reality is, not everyone has these attributes. And even though wealth and status can indeed attract attention, they're not always available or sustainable. In fact, 99% of men don't have these qualities, and they can't just build wealth or status overnight to solve the issue. The second problem with logical chasing is that it does not lead to a meaningful, emotionally fulfilling relationship. If a woman chases you because of your wealth or status, it's likely she's not truly interested in you as a person. You might notice her getting excited when you flaunt your wealth. Perhaps she's excited by the money, but not by you. She may stay with you because of the perks you offer, but deep down, she will likely still feel emotionally unfulfilled and will eventually seek someone who can meet her deeper emotional needs. Needs that money simply cannot satisfy. Money might be able to buy her comfort, but it can never fulfill the core emotional connections that make a relationship meaningful. So, if you're planning to be a sugar daddy or have an endless supply of money to spend, then by all means, go ahead and do that. But if you want a woman who truly loves and chases you for who you are, logical chasing is not the path to take. Trust me on this one. I've been through this myself. And let me tell you, I can assure you firsthand that a gold digger can drain your resources faster than a vacuum cleaner sucks up dust, leaving you with nothing but an empty wallet and a hollow relationship. Now, let's shift gears and talk about emotional chasing, which is when a woman starts chasing you because she is genuinely in love with you, and not because of any tangible benefits you provide. In this case, her actions are driven by deep feelings for you, emotions that she can't control. She's emotionally invested in you. She can't stand being apart from you, and she becomes willing to do anything to make you happy. Emotional chasing is about her feelings, not logic. This kind of chase is what builds real love in her heart and creates a much stronger, more meaningful connection between the two of you. When emotional chasing happens, it's a powerful experience because it's not driven by external factors like money or status. Instead, it's a deep, emotional connection. This kind of chasing leads to stronger bonds, increased enjoyment when you're together, and a lasting relationship. It's also what makes the relationship grow and last over time. Here's the golden rule you need to take away. A woman will never truly fall in love with you or develop deep feelings for you unless this type of emotional chasing happens. So, how do you trigger emotional chasing? If you've been following this series, you're already aware that there are two main phases in the dynamics between you and a woman: the hunting stage and the chasing stage. The first stage is when you hunt the girl, and the second is when she starts chasing you. These two stages are crucial for creating emotional chasing, and they lay the foundation for a meaningful, lasting relationship. Let's break this down with a simple example. Imagine you're the person in a situation where a friend of yours offers you a cigarette. He says, "Here, take it and smoke it." You smoke it, and you find that you enjoy it. A few days later, the same person comes back and says, "Here's another cigarette." You take it again, and you keep smoking. This cycle continues for a while, until, after some time, you find yourself going to him and saying, "Give me that cigarette." At this point, he no longer needs to come to you. You are the one chasing him. Eventually, your friend tells you, "If you want a cigarette now, you'll need to pay for it." At this point, you become addicted, and you start paying for the cigarettes you were once offered for free. You are now chasing him and paying for it. This is exactly how romantic dynamics work. In the beginning, your friend was in the hunting phase, offering you the cigarette. But over time, you became the one chasing him, seeking out the cigarette, and eventually paying for it. This pattern mirrors how relationships develop. The dynamic of emotional chasing unfolds gradually. Now that we've set the stage, let's talk about the hunting phase in detail. This phase is all about taking initiative. You need to be the one who takes the first step. If you've been following my series, you'll have heard me say this before. Be the chooser, not the chaser. As a man, your role in dating is to choose. You pick the girl you're interested in, and because you're the one doing the choosing, you need to take charge. When you meet a girl for the first time, it's typically up to you to initiate the conversation. You need to take the first step and ask her out. This is where the first major checkpoint in the hunting phase comes in, asking for a date. But here's the subtle point. Even though you're the one taking the initiative in hunting, you must not chase her. You must be the hunter, not a follower. So, what does this mean in practical terms? Let's take a closer look at how you ask for a date. If you ask her something like, "When can I see you?" or "When are you free?" you're essentially asking her to lead the interaction and make the decision first. You're putting the ball in her court, essentially saying, "You decide when we can meet, and I'll follow your lead." The role of the hunter is different. You need to stop asking these follow-up questions and start making hunter statements. In other words, you need to be clear and assertive. Instead of asking what she wants, you tell her what you're going to do. Here are some examples. Follower: "When are you free to go out?" Hunter: "Tell me when you're free this week, and I'll take you to the best spot ever. You'll love it. Meet me there at 7 p.m. We're something nice." Follower: "Would you like to go out sometime?" Hunter: "Text me when you're free. I have an idea that's going to be really fun." Follower: "Can I get your number?" Hunter: "Put your number in my phone, and let's stay in touch." Follower: "Are you free on Saturday?" Hunter: "Let's grab a drink when we're both free. I'll let you know what my week looks like." Do you see the difference? The key takeaway here is that you don't ask her. You tell her what's going to happen. Women want a man who takes the lead and is confident enough to know what he wants and how to make it happen. The more confident you are in taking charge and showing her you know what you're doing, the more she'll feel comfortable following your lead. This is the fundamental difference between being a follower in the chase and being a hunter. It's about initiative, leadership, and confidence, all of which will shift the dynamics of attraction and make her want to chase you back. Let me give you an extremely important piece of advice that could completely change how you approach dating. If you ask a girl out on a date and she declines, offering you an excuse, let's say you suggest, "Let's meet on Sunday," and she responds with, "No, I have to meet a friend on Sunday. Whatever you do, do not try to suggest another day." Like saying, "Okay, let's meet on Saturday or Monday." Instead, calmly respond with, "All right, no problem. Let's leave it for another time." This is where many guys go wrong. They start chasing. They try to convince her, offer alternatives, or even apologize for suggesting the first date. Don't do that. In fact, this is a sign of weakness and desperation. The key here is to remain calm, composed, and confident, showing that you have your own life and don't need to desperately rearrange things for her. It's about letting her feel that you're not at her beck and call. And this will make her think twice and respect you more. You're offering an invitation, not begging for her time. Before diving into how you should handle the date, let's first address something crucial. Imagine you've just had an amazing date with her. Everything went perfectly, and you both had a good time. Now, when you get home, do not send her any messages or try to talk to her right away. Resist the urge to text her immediately and tell her how much fun you had. When the date is over, take a step back. It's important to create a sense of space. Let her start missing you. If you reach out too soon, you'll start looking like someone who has nothing else going on. Here's the system I recommend. After the date, don't contact her until at least a week has passed. After a week, send her a simple message suggesting another meeting. This system works because it maintains your mystery and keeps you in control of the dynamic. You're still taking the initiative, but you're not chasing her down. You've planted the seed. Now you're allowing her to do the emotional work of wondering when she'll see you again. Now, let's consider what happens if you're still in the hunting phase and she sends you a message. In this case, it's completely fine to respond. But here's the trick. You should not initiate contact more than once a week. This will keep the relationship at the right pace, making sure that you're not coming off as too eager or desperate. If you stick to this rhythm, after some time, you'll notice a shift. She'll start texting you daily and engaging with you more consistently. This is when you know that the balance is tipping, and she's starting to develop real feelings for you. However, for now, let's stay focused on maintaining your position in the hunting phase. When it comes to the date itself, there are a lot of different aspects to consider, and I've covered various techniques for dates in other parts of this series. But for now, let me give you a few key takeaways. The primary goal of your date should be to increase the emotional intensity of the interaction. You need to spark emotions, create connection, and make her feel something deep within. Now, let's talk about one situation that's actually quite common. What happens if the girl shows up late to the date? This can be a tricky situation for many guys. The golden rule here is simple. Don't wait for more than 10 minutes. Some guys make the mistake of waiting hours for a girl who's late, telling themselves, "She's worth the wait." But this is a huge mistake. If she's more than 10 minutes late, don't let her off the hook. Just leave. Don't make a big deal of it. But don't wait around. Send a simple message like, "No problem. I guess we'll have to reschedule." Then, walk away. If you don't hold her accountable for this behavior, she'll start taking you for granted. And this can happen more frequently. Set boundaries early on, or she'll start thinking she can treat you however she wants. On the flip side, many guys try to manipulate the situation by showing up late themselves. The thinking here is that by being late, they'll make the girl wait for them and thus reverse the dynamic. She'll start chasing them instead. However, I don't recommend doing this. In fact, Showing up on time is always better. Why? Because women today are not as naive as they once were. They can recognize when you're playing games. And if you consistently show up late, she'll catch on to your tactics and the whole dynamic can backfire. Honesty and straightforwardness are far more attractive than playing games. So, show up on time and respect the plans you've made. Now, let's talk about what you should be discussing on the date. The key here is that everything you talk about should provoke an emotional response. Every question you ask should make her feel something. Avoid boring, generic questions like, "What do you do for work?" or "How was your day?" These questions are dull and typical. They're questions she's probably heard from hundreds of other men. Instead, focus on asking questions that really resonate with her emotions. Try questions like, "Do you remember the last time you did something so exciting that you couldn't stop thinking about it for days? When was the last time you laughed so hard you cried? If you were guaranteed not to fail, what would you want to become? Who is the person you care about the most in your life?" These types of questions open the door to deeper, more meaningful conversations and create a connection that goes beyond surface-level talk. This is something I've discussed in previous videos in this series. And if you haven't watched them yet, I highly recommend going back to get more insights into making your date more emotionally engaging. The real goal is to make the conversation feel genuine and heartfelt. There will be moments in the conversation when you'll feel that the emotional connection is strong. And this is the perfect time to test the waters with a kiss test. This means gauging whether she's ready for a kiss. If she's emotionally charged from the conversation, she'll likely be open to it. Typically, when a girl is emotionally invested in the moment, she won't refuse a kiss, as long as the timing feels right and natural. But remember, it's important that it feels genuine and not forced. By keeping these things in mind, you'll be able to navigate the complexities of dating with confidence and effectiveness. The more emotionally charged your interaction, the more she'll find herself drawn to you and eventually chasing you back. Now, let's discuss how to end a date successfully, which is just as important as how you started. A key part of keeping the attraction alive is knowing when to leave. The most common mistake many guys make is staying too long, thinking the longer the date, the better the impression. But here's the truth. You want to leave before it gets boring. When you feel the energy of the conversation peaking, when both of you are having a great time and you can sense the emotional connection, that's when you should end the date. You don't want to overstay your welcome or allow the conversation to fizzle out. By leaving at the right moment, you'll create an air of mystery, which is incredibly attractive. The final step is to leave without promising another date. Most guys will end a date by saying something like, "Let's meet again," or "I'll call you." However, that's exactly what you want to avoid. These kinds of promises create a sense of expectation and take away the mystery. Instead, just leave the date naturally without bringing up a follow-up plan. Don't mention another meeting at all. This leaves her wondering about you, and it makes her more likely to want to reach out herself. I've already covered this in detail in the series How to Attract Women, so if you haven't seen it yet, I highly recommend going back and watching it. This technique fits into what I call the hunting phase, the phase where you're still getting to know each other and there's still plenty of room to build attraction. Once you've ended the date properly and left that emotional impact, the next crucial step is to give her space. Let her think about you. Don't rush into another meeting. Meet her once a week for a while, but don't overwhelm her with your presence. If you follow this routine, eventually, you'll reach the point where she starts messaging you every day, calling you daily, and wanting to see you more often. This marks the shift from the hunting phase to the chasing phase, where she begins to pursue you instead of the other way around. Now, let's talk about what happens when the dynamic shifts and she starts to chase you. You need to play it cool and not always be available. This is something I've made the mistake of doing in the past. once a girl starts showing interest. I would make myself available 24/7, answering every message right away and agreeing to every date. But here's the problem. The more available you are, the quicker she'll lose interest. It's a trap that leads to boredom and a loss of attraction. So here's the key. Don't always answer when she calls. If she asks to meet, sometimes say you're busy or that you have other things to take care of. This doesn't mean you're playing games or being manipulative. It's simply a way of maintaining the right balance of interest. Women don't want a man who is always at their beck and call. They want someone who challenges them, someone who isn't overly eager or constantly seeking their attention. This keeps the relationship exciting and builds the chase, which is ultimately what makes things more enjoyable for both of you. But here's a very important caveat. Don't do this until you've noticed she started messaging you regularly. Before she reaches this stage, if you start ignoring her messages or distancing yourself too soon, she won't care. At this point, she won't have developed feelings for you yet. And this type of behavior will only make her lose interest. The key is to distance yourself only after she's already attached to you, when she's genuinely invested in the connection. So, how do you distance yourself? Again, it's about not always being available. Sometimes say yes to meeting, and other times, say no. It's about keeping her on her toes. This isn't manipulation. As some people might think, it's simply understanding what women want in a relationship. A woman wants drama, excitement, and a sense of challenge. She wants to chase you and see if you'll give her the emotional push-pull that makes things interesting. When she starts pulling away, and many girls do this to test whether you'll chase them back. The best thing you can do is stay cool and not pursue her. If she distances herself, let her be. Don't panic or chase after her. The key to maintaining attraction is to be the hunter, not the chaser. This is the mindset that will keep her intrigued and keep the emotional investment in your favor. So remember, in the chasing phase, you're not available at her every whim. You're still in control of the dynamic, creating space for her to miss you and come to you. If you follow these principles, you'll avoid the trap of becoming too available and keep the attraction and excitement alive for the long term.